Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem visited an ICE facility in Portland, Oregon Tuesday, drawing protesters to the area. It came on the heels of President Trump claiming without evidence on Monday that Portland is in the middle of an insurrection. He also said he'd consider invoking the Insurrection Act of 1792 to deploy troops for a civilian law enforcement effort. And after a federal judge twice blocked National Guard troops from deploying to Portland, Oregon's governor now pushing to send them home. In a letter to the NORTHCOM commander, Governor Tina Kotek called their mission illegal. She directed the U.S. Northern Command to demobilize 400 Oregon and California National Guard soldiers currently stationed outside of Portland. All of this comes as hundreds of National Guard troops arrived outside of Chicago, despite state and local leaders suing to block their deployment. NewsNation's Xavier Walton is tracking all of this for us. Xavier, the obvious question here. We've heard Mayor Brandon Johnson call this an act of war.
Nick, good morning. Mayor Johnson having some strong words, but you know this, President Trump has been teasing this really for weeks now, and it's finally happening. Texas National Guard troops have arrived in Chicago. You just showed the video. Here it is again, just outside of Chicago, after Texas Governor Greg Abbott deployed some 400 troops to Illinois at the president's request. It's all part of what the White House calls a security response to growing clashes outside immigration enforcement sites. But Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is accusing the president of escalating tension.
Donald Trump declared war on Chicago. What the Trump administration is doing is intentionally fomenting chaos. This president doesn't respect the rule of law, and he certainly doesn't respect working people. I'm using every single tool that's available to me to make sure that we protect people.
So the president says the Guard is there to protect ICE facilities after scenes like this one you're seeing here, where protests appear to turn violent, but Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker calling the deployment unlawful and dangerous. FBI Director Kash Patel, who is also in the Windy City in Chicago, saying on X that Chicago will be saved and that the Bureau will continue to crush violent crime there. In Washington, Illinois Senator Dick Durbin pressing Attorney General Pam Bondi during testimony yesterday, asking why Texas troops are being deployed to another state.
They're going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
And more troops could follow, not just Chicago, but in other cities as well. And Nick, you mentioned this off the top. President Trump is considering invoking the 1792 Insurrection Act, which essentially would allow use of military forces inside the U.S. under certain circumstances.
Xavier, question for you, though. One of the things I wanted to follow up with you on was that that gang member supposedly putting a hit out on a Border Patrol commander. What's the latest with that?
Yeah, Nick, so authorities say the high-ranking, suspected high-ranking member of a Chicago gang, his name is Juan Espinosa Martinez, is in federal custody, is facing federal charges, obviously. The Mexican national, here he is, pictures of him accused of putting a hit out on the Border Patrol commander, Gregory Bovino. Investigators say Martinez posted a Snapchat, you're seeing it here, promising $2,000 for information and then $10,000 if you take him down. Now, as for the troops, Nick, they're expected to begin patrols in Chicago as soon as today, amid a growing firestorm over whether or not this move by President Trump and the Trump administration is legal in the first place.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.